So, what comes to your mind on hearing the word doctor? Someone who would help you to relieve your pain. Someone who will work hard to try to save your life. But what if same person's negligence and arrogance caused you the biggest pain of your beloved family member? And not like this pain was from one unfortunate misjudgment, but you and your family had to suffer from immense pain for months from a series of mistakes by the very person who was supposed to help through that pain. This is exactly what has happened to this baby whose life in this world is now filled with pain and uncertainty. Hello mysterious family and welcome back to Mysterious Mariam. Today's video may contain some graphical explanation of an infant's suffering which can be disturbing to some of you, so viewer discretion is advised. Rihaan Nuepane was born on June 26, 2018 to Ekta Ghime and Sanjeev Nuepane in Nepal's Grande International Hospital. He was born by a cesarean delivery after 36 weeks and a day of pregnancy, weighing only 2.85 kilograms. He was all good and healthy the moment he was born, but then he started to have some breathing problems. He was diagnosed with pneumonia and was kept in neonatal intensive unit. Since Rihan's condition was not improving, he was then shifted to mechanical ventilator. From ventilator, he caught Klebsiella. Klebsiella is a bacterial infection which can cause pneumonia, bloodstream infection and meningitis. Patients whose treatment require ventilators or catheters are most at the risk of this infection, and this infection occurs in up to 33% of mechanically ventilated patients. Ekta was all good and healthy now and she was discharged, but Rihan still had to stay in the ICU for next 21 days. Sanjeev and Ekta obviously could not stay in the hospital that long with Rihan, so trusting Grande International Hospital's staff that they would best take care of their son's health, would only visit him during the visiting hours. Finally, 21 days later, on July 17, 2018, Rihan was finally discharged from hospital, but just on the third day, that is on July 20th, Ekta and Sanjeev had to take Rihan back to the hospital as he had a fever. The doctor told the parents that they had to keep the baby under observation for next 24 hours. But these 24 hours extended and turned into 42 days. And Rihan was diagnosed with meningitis. Meningitis, if you don't know, is an infection of protective membranes that surround brain and spinal cord. This infection can get very serious if not treated well. An ultrasound was conducted to see if the meningitis had any impact on Rihan's brain. Radiologists looked at the report and said that there could be a pus accumulated in the brain and an MRI should immediately be conducted. But the doctors didn't pay much attention to this recommendation because they were mere radiologists. Who the hell were they to recommend a doctor what to do? So they continued to administer antibiotics with no sign of improvement. Finally, a magnetic resonance imaging MRI test was conducted. By then, Rihan had already been in the hospital for 40 days. The night after the MRI test, doctors told Sanjeev and Ekta that a brain operation was required to remove the pus. Neurosurgeon Dr. Amit Thapa took the responsibility for the surgery. As soon as the MRI report came, Dr. Amit said that there was an abscess in Rihan's brain and that was needed to be removed immediately. 5 days after the operation, Thapa and his team told Sanjeev that another surgery was required as pipe installed in baby's brain to drain the pus had become clogged. At this point, Sanjeev's child had to undergo brain surgery twice within 50 days after birth. His wife already went through a cesarean surgery, and to further worsen the matter, his father had died suddenly less than a month after Rihan was born, and he couldn't even do the mourning rituals for his father. 2 weeks after the second surgery, Rihan was taken to the operation theatre for the third time, with doctors saying that the pus had failed to drain completely. And then a fourth surgery was performed. 2 pipes fitted to drain the pus in the third surgery were removed and new ones were placed to collect excess cerebrospinal fluid from the brain. After the fourth surgery, Rihan's condition improved, but by this time, Rihan had been in the hospital for 67 days. He was permitted to be taken home on October 9th, 2018, but he was accustomed to living in the constant temperatures of hospital. He became restless after arriving home. Now, Ekta and Sanjeev knew at this point that their child child might never be completely normal given the infection, the multiple surgeries, and the prolonged stay in the hospital. Nuepane couple took Rihan to another ophthalmologist for an ear and an eye checkup because he was non-responsive to noise and light. His eyes and ears apparently looked fine, but ultimate result can only be determined later once he grew up. Rihan's condition was slowly improving, and Sanjeev and Ekta were happy to see their infant getting better. But despite the improvements, Rihan appeared malnourished. Now, Sanjeev and Ekta started to notice a significant increase in the size of Rihan's head. So Sanjeev took him back to Grande International Hospital to the doctor, where an ultrasound showed hydrocephalus, a build-up of fluid in the brain, and an 8.2 centimeter long and 1 centimeter wide build-up of cerebrospinal fluid in the brain. But Amit Thapa, the chief doctor involved in Rihan's surgery, disagreed the radiology report. Once again, a mere radiologist recommending a doctor what to do. He said that the build-up can never be this big and should be 8 millimeter long, not 8 centimeter. And parents believed the doctor, of course. But Rihan's head started to growing bigger and bigger every month. In the 9th month, an MRI was conducted. Rihan underwent a 5th surgery to place another shunt to drain the fluid. In the end, it turned out that Thapa was mistaken and that radiology report was right all along. The build-up was actually 8.2 centimeter long. It was after this surgery that tensions between the parents and the hospital began. Sanjeev and Ekta had so far trusted the doctors and Grande International Hospital, but one incident led Sanjeev to doubt just how well the hospital was treating their child. They were in the cabin with Rihan when a nurse came to give him some medicine. The doctor had already told the parents that much medication was not required since it had been a bloodless surgery, so they asked the nurse what she was giving to the child. She told them that it was paracetamol, but they were alarmed by the amount. Sanjeev saw that the nurse was attempting to give Rihan, a few months old infant, a paracetamol dose of 66 ml, which is a heavy dose even for a fully grown adult. They asked her to check with the doctor and confirm the amount, but the nurse was visibly angry. But when she came back after asking the doctor, she said that she was mistaken and gave a much smaller dose. Sanjeev and Ekta were relieved, but the horror came to them when they overheard that Rihan must have received a 66 ml dose in the ICU. But Dr. Chakraraj Pandey, a famed orthopedic surgeon and director of Grande International Hospital, assured the parents that the hospital would do whatever it took to avert the danger the child was going to face. But problems compounded further when the hospital initiated the efforts to reverse the effects of overdose. An infection was seen in Rihan's urine, causing a fever, but because of the overdosing, Rihan could now not receive any more paracetamol. The parents were told to regularly place a cold compress on Rihan's forehead to bring his temperature down. Sanjeev and Ekta spent long nights alternatively placing a cloth soaked in cold water on their son's forehead, but the fever became severe and no nurse came to help them in these sleepless nights. Next morning, an argument ensued between the parents and the hospital administration, and Sanjeev had it with the Grande International Hospital and its doctors. He suspected malpractice and took his child's medical reports to get a second opinion from doctors from the other hospitals. While the doctors were unable to say if Grande had anything to do wrong with this child, they advised against moving Rihan to another hospital as that would only cause him more pain. Sanjeev and Ekta reluctantly agreed to continue with treatment at Grande, and they demanded the acceptance of mistake by the hospital. After the hospital refused to admit that there was any negligence on their part, Nuepane lodged a complaint on May 22, 2019 at Nepal Medical Council against Grande International Hospital. The council, which is a national regulatory body of medical practitioners, carried out a probe against the doctors involved in the treatment and found sheer negligence on the part of the doctors and warned Amit Thapa, the neurosurgeon who operated on Rihan, not to repeat a similar mistake in the future. Wow, sheer warnings on the life of an infant who reached to this condition all because of their negligence. And wait here, the next part is gonna make your blood boil. it did mine. Hospital director Pandey said that the hospital cannot be blamed for the Klebsiella bacteria infection, as it is a common gut bacteria that is primarily found in all hospitals. Anyone visiting a hospital for treatment can contract an infection from Klebsiella. He also claimed that there had been no misunderstanding between the hospital's radiologists and neurosurgeons. He said, quote, "There is no doubt that the child was administered a high dose of paracetamol, but we are certain that it does not cause any harm to the child. Sometimes mistakes happen during the treatment, but it is not right to make an issue out of it," quote, "like it was a worthless child who suffered a few surgeries. What's wrong with that?" All Sanjeev only wanted the hospital to admit its mistakes and apologize. He was so humble throughout the process of filing this complaint. Despite all the pain he and his family suffered, all he wanted from them was the acceptance of their mistakes, which never happened. Pandey and Grante might get away with their defense that mistakes happen, but for Ekta and Sanjeev, these mistakes are unforgivable. Dissatisfied by the consul's decision, Nuepane and his wife had lodged a case against the Grande International Hospital and Nepal Medical Council at Patan High Court. Sanjeev tried to approach some senior lawyers, but no one wanted to go against a prestigious hospital in court until Diksha Kandal, a fresh advocate, along with her two friends working with her in the same law firm created by Diksha, she came in contact with Sanjeev through some of her Facebook friends. They fought wholeheartedly on this case. They demanded withdrawing the medical license of 9 doctors and holding council accountable for not taking due action against the professionals and the administration. Similarly, 25 million Nepalese rupees was claimed as a compensation from the hospital. Finally, on May 24th, the Patan court ordered Grande Hospital to pay 3.5 million Nepalese rupees to child's family for negligence in treatment. During all this scenario, where the court case was going on in Patan High Court, many other such cases came forward where people faced medical negligence from Grande International Hospital. Sanjeev said that the court's decision has given them relief, although nothing can compensate for the damage they had to undergo. After filing a case, he said he was feeling proud that he took this step against them. The damage has already been made. Nothing can correct, but I fought so that no one else has to go through this, and the whole hospital and the medical staff will be aware next time. I am feeling a bit of relief. As of Rihan, for now, Rihan sleeps quietly, opening his eyes occasionally and looking around. He is mostly unresponsive. His parents have done all they can, going through a harrowing ordeal in order to save their son's life. Sanjeev and Ekta now have another beautiful son, Sadhan. They are now a beautiful family of 4. I really hope Rehan's health get better and he would be able to live a normal life. The strength and bravery of both Sanjeev and Ekta is so fascinating. Well, this was it for today's case. Don't forget to subscribe and I will see you in the next video. Bye.